The government of Cameroon has been taken to African Union Court. This was done by a seasoned opposition figure under the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, Professor Maurice Camto. The reason for taking the government of Cameroon to the African Union Court is because he accused the president of Cameroon and the government of Cameroon of mutilating the constitution and orchestrating a constitutional coup by creating the position of a vice president whose mandate will be able to finish the term of the president. That position has no specific job description, and the head of state has the prerogative to appoint or sack a vice president who will have the power to finish his mandate. According to Professor Maurice Camto, who himself has been a member of government before resigning and entering into politics at the level of opposition, he says that this is contrary to Cameroon's constitution and also contrary to international norms and also contrary to natural justice, above all repugnant to the law governing democracy. He says that sovereignty of the people cannot be picked by someone who has been given the mandate of the people. According to his party is seizing the court, the African Union Court, demanded that the African Union call the government of Cameroon to order to respect what is supposed to be by ensuring that the position of the vice president is not given to take over and complete the mandate of a president whenever need arises, in case the president resigns or dies or something happens or is incapacitated. This is coming to re-echo the views of many Cameroonians who saw the bill as not being a good bill. Remember that Cameroon's ruling class is mostly made up of members of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM. And this class, the CPDM, has an obese majority at the level of the parliament, which any bill proposed by the government will sail through without even having any friction or any strong opposition, as we have seen over the decade of President Paul Biya rulership. In President Paul Biya's 40 years in power, this has been the norm, where the parliament, oftentimes to many, have been seen as just a body that legislates on behalf or in favor of the ruling party. And that is why the government of Cameroon has been taken to court by Professor Maurice Camto. But the question is, will the African Union Court rule in favor of the Cameroonian people whom Professor Maurice Camto claimed is representing, to restore back the constitutional power? Before the head of state law, or before the bill that was signed into by President Paul Biya within the period of 12 of April 2026, the constitutional succession plan in Cameroon was simple. If a president is incapacitated, dies or resigns, that position will go to the Speaker of Senate. The President of Senate takes over that position and rule over it for 3 months. 3 months, the President of Senate conduct a fresh election. And within that fresh election, the President of Senate is not in any way going to be a candidate of that election. But with the new law that is in place, which was quickly voted, hastily voted, and quickly signed by Paul Biya, who came to power on the 6th of November 1982, it simply states that the president will have the power to appoint and to sack a vice president. And in that same Article 6, sub 15, it says that that vice president will have the locus to finish the mandate of the president if the president ended his tenure or resigned 2 years into his mandate, which a mandate of Cameroon is 7 years. That vice president will finish the remaining 5 years and will now conduct fresh election. Now, on Article 6 sub 15 says that he may not take part in the election, and he may not be able to dissolve the government when he takes over. But in consultation with the Constitutional Council, he can dissolve the government and appoint a new member of government, or when need arises, he can actually dissolve the government. Now, with this ambiguity, Professor Maurice Camto is clear that this is a sign by President Paul Biya to transfer power to whoever he will without the will of the people. This is circumventing the will of the people. And that is why Professor Maurice Camto has taken the government to African Union Court But if the African Union court ruled in the favor of Professor Maurice Camto and the numerous Cameroonians in their thousands, possibly millions, who don't want this bill to stand, despite the fact that it has already been voted into law, which is legitimate now, President Paul Biya can appoint anybody as the vice president. His son, anybody, because the law did not give a clear-cut distinction as to who can be appointed and who cannot be appointed, which means even today, President Paul Biya get up and appoint his wife as the vice president. It is constitutional. But if the African Union ruled in favor of Professor Camto, what will be the enforcement mechanism? Since Cameroon is a sovereign state and reserves the right to act based on its constitution without interference, it remains a mystery to be seen and to be heard.